I hope everybody's having a good day.
There you go.
Am I live now?
Yes.
Oh, good Lord. Do you do that on purpose?
Yes.
Of course
Yes,
you
I do.
Just messing with his mother.
Fun.
Yeah. Okay. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday so far. I'm excited about painting this piece today because it is something springy. We're just coming out of a miserable 4-day storm. It was just nothing but rain and snow and freezing rain and sleet and ice pellets. And it's just been gray and dreary and ugly. And then, ta-da, today we have beautiful sunshine and a little dusting of snow on top of everything. And now we have to go buy some more storm chips because we've got another one coming starting tomorrow. So, welcome to New Brunswick.
Yay.
In January. That's about the norm here. So we're looking at getting some more snow this week. Not that I mind. I like it when we get lots of snow.
I can live without it.
Oh, I love the snow. The house gets nice and cozy when there's lots of snow. Let's see. Happy Mail this week. I had a whole bunch of Happy Mail this week. Most of it arrived on Friday. I got a huge box from Dynasty Brush. Huge box. Full of wonderful brushy goodness. I got some Dynasty Micron. Now, these are brushes that are going to, of course, they send brushes for me to use, but also brushes for you guys, because we'll be doing some giveaways with some Dynasty brushes like we usually do, and I've just been topped up again. So we've got lots of really cool things. I got Dynasty Micron, we got some IPC, we got, what else did we get? Oh, we got my texture stencil brushes. Those are really cool, the ones with my spiffy little signature on them. And we got some Dynasty Stencil Pro, the natural hair bristle, that are really, really nice. So we got some of those. I mean, we got a ton of stuff. And so that was a nice box to get on a Friday afternoon. And then I got something really cool. I've been looking for something for doing some really fun backgrounds. Kind of had my eye on something more graffiti-esque, if that makes any sense, because I've been seeing a lot of it and I'm really quite interested in how they're using it. And it made me think of a few different backgrounds. So I had to go looking for some fun stuff to do that with. And I found these. These are Posca pens. These are made by Uniball, same company that my black gel pen. These ones are acrylic paint pens, so they're not oil-based, and they work like a giant Sharpie, for lack of a better term. Beautifully opaque, really nice bright colors. I've been playing with them on my black journal all this week, and I'm rather excited about these, so don't be surprised when you see a few things pop up with some of these Posca pens for the backgrounds, because I'm really excited about things. I get excited about some really strange things. And the other thing I got excited about this week was
Poor York.
was poor York. Renee, he likes to give me unusual Christmas gifts,
Yes.
which I fully appreciate. And so he got me what he thought was a soup bowl.
York.
It's Yorick. Not York. Yorick.
York. York.
Not York. So, yeah. It's not really a soup bowl.
No.
I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I just love it. I think he's just so cool. He kind of reminds me of the one that got me in so much trouble at this.
That was a full-size skull, though.
It was.
This is not a one-to-one.
No. The one but it had that level of realism, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I had a replica of a human skull that got me into, let's call it a little bit of hot water with airport security.
Traveling with a resin one-to-one ratio human skull.
I had it in my carry-on, and because I didn't want it to get broken. Seemed logical to me. I did not, however, take into consideration what it would look like on the X-ray machines at the airport. It gave the staff there quite a bad moment. Nobody wanted to open my bag. Let's put it that way. They were afraid of what they might find. But it was just a resin replica, a life size resin replica, but a replica nonetheless. It had, made in Taiwan stamped on the bottom. It was all good. But needless to say, I rattled airport security, and TSA, gave me a finger wag. But these are the joys of traveling with me. Because things like this happen to me all the time. I have absolutely no idea why. They just do. So you'll forgive me. I am still fighting the after effects of what we think was the flu. I'm not sure what it was. But it's left me with sort of a lingering headache for the last several days. So it's just not been fun. But forgive me if I'm a little slow and perhaps even a little off today. But we are going to paint some really pretty spring flowers. I really like this background. It's fun. It's super easy. And it lends a little bit of drama to what could otherwise be a pretty blasé piece. So I hope that you enjoy painting this. I'm pretty excited about it. I really like the way it turned out. I love the color palette. So if you guys are ready to get started, so am I. So I've already got my surface prepped. Just make sure I'm centered in the shot here.
You should be good.
So this one actually has a fairly basic color palette. I wanted something really kind of spicy and fun. And I really am quite a fan of this color palette. This is bright salmon. I love the tone of this. It's been one of those orangey pinks or those coral pinks that I really, really love for a long time. From the minute they brought it out, there was just something very rich and warm about this tone. And so I chose that bright salmon. Then, of course, you've got to go with a mid value and then a darker value and then a lighter value. So I chose a little bit of coral, which is such a pretty color. And then we have that coral cloud. There's a couple of coral tones in the lighter values, but I chose the coral cloud for this. I didn't want to get too light. We can mix a lighter one if we need to. So we have the coral cloud. And then, of course, I needed some darker values to shade with and to give it a little more intensity. And for that, I needed some transparent orangey reds, and these are the two that I chose. I chose scarlet. I love the orange tone and the heat that you get from this one. And I love that it's sort of semi-transparent. So it's a nice color to shade with. And then this one is true red. And because it's a true red, it again is sort of semi-transparent. So we're going to be using those two colors. That's going to pop those corals. Of course, I have to have my Asphaltum. So we have that. A little bit of warm white for our highlighting and for brightening. And then we're going to go into our leaves. And again, this is a color that I am not just a little bit obsessed with, is this desert cactus. It is a slightly grayed out teal green. I just have really fallen in love with this color. And then for highlight for that, I went with jadeite glass. It's much, much brighter than the desert cactus, but I really like that green tone, and it works well with the desert cactus. And it is that minty tone, which is on the other end of that sort of teal tone. So I decided on a mermaid tail for my shading color. I love this one. It plays up that green really nicely. It shades really well. It's very transparent, so it gives us lots of depth. And I just love that it cools off that green so nicely. So we're going to use that mermaid tail. And then, of course, we have to have a yellow because it's a flower and there's always a little yellow somewhere. So we're going to use that sunset gold. So it's not an extravagant color palette, but I think it's a nice rich one. So we're going to have some fun with that. And then, of course, in that background, we're going to be working with gold. I tried to find a bottle of 24 karat gold in my stash, but I seem to have run out. So I'm going to be using this one. This is the Media Fluid Acrylic Metallic Gold. This one is really, really nice. Very opaque, covers very nicely. So this is the gold we're going to be using for this background.
I went on the decor.com site. It says they ship to U.S. addresses only. Is that correct, or did I go to the wrong site?
No, that is correct. But if you're looking for decor products, we have two really great distributors here in Canada. And you can order through Country Bear Woodcrafts or Creation Country Bear out of Sherbrooke, Quebec. And or you can order through stockade.ca, and they are based in Guelph, Ontario. So two really good resources. Both are distributors of decor product.
Boom.
So we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. I'm quite fond of these coral tones. Now, I started this piece. The base coat is lamp black, 2 coats. And then I give it a light sanding and then one more third coat, just so that I have a nice smooth surface. And then traced and transferred using a white graphite and my red 0.38 pen. Now, the reason I go with the 0.38 is look how fine these lines are. I wanted nice fine lines. They're a lot easier to get rid of. Nice and fine, and that 0.38 pen will do that for you. Either red or black will work just fine. I like the red because I can see where I've been. And it gives me nice fine lines. I don't have those heavy graphite lines that I have to get rid of.
Yeah, that was actually a tip from one of your viewers.
Yes, it was. From Carol Manhart.
I wonder if she's here.
I don't know. She's usually watching.
She's usually watching.
Lovely lady. So we're going to start with a little bit in that background. You notice I've got some berries back there. I want those to be white, so I'm going to show you a little trick. You can use a shape maker. Pretty sure I have one here somewhere. I did have, but I don't know where it is. And I'm going to grab a small stencil brush. Okay, maybe not that one. There we go. So, let you use a stencil maker or a polka dot stencil or what have you.
No, Linda is giving you grief.
Is she? What did I forget?
You forgot the prizes for today.
I did. Well, I mean, I got a gorgeous shipment of like just brushy goodness on Friday.
So you're giving away brushes?
We have a set of 3 blenders from the IPC line.
Oh, point blenders.
There's a point blender, an oval blender, and a soft blender.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a nice little set. And of course, we paired it up with a few other little goodies too. So we have it in one of those little create bags. You know, art stuff bags.
She caught me.
Did you?
Yeah. No, wait a minute. I did not say anything yet. But I knew you were typing it.
Uh-huh. He's psychic that way.
I'm psychic. I can read minds better than I can read a book.
Uh-huh. So this is just the easiest way to get those nice berry shapes so that they're uniform and nice and round. So I just used my shape maker and a stencil brush and a little bit of warm white. Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. So, I'm looking at my Facebook page and it's playing last week's live.
What?
That's what's showing on my screen.
Oh.
Oh, goodness.
No wonder you're out of frame.
Yeah, it's just not showing up on Facebook here.
Which is weird because I got the Facebook chat working this time.
Oh, there we are, I think. Maybe. Yes, we are. Hello. I don't know. I'm technologically inept today. Too many computer issues this week. So we've got our berries. So just make sure that they're dry before I start on to the next thing. Our first color for this piece is that coral. So we're going to fill in the individual petals. Now you notice that I have white paint on all of the petals. Because I'm working with this color, even though it is quite opaque, it's going to be affected by that black. And I wanted these colors to be quite bright and vibrant. And so I've got a base of white down first, just so that we're not fighting against all of that black. And it doesn't take 10 coats of paint to color it.
Oh, Mary's watching on Facebook today.
Mary Galliato?
Yeah. Mary Safranco.
Mary.
That Mary.
Linda's mom.
Linda's mom.
Hello, Mary. It's so nice that she watches. So I'm just going to fill in each of the individual petals. I like leaving that little space again between these petals. It just gives me a nice guide. And having that white base down lets that color be nice and bright. Look at that. Now, I apply this color, all colors, the white, everything, following the shape of the petal. So that it helps create a little texture in the petals, but at the same time, I get much nicer coverage. So, now there's those black bits there, those stamens in the center of these flowers. I'm going right over them. I'm still going to be able to see them. So,
you got your Facebook open there?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to do some administration.
He's going to do some administrative work. Okay.
Yeah.
I like having that white. You can still see those stamens, those shapes from the middle of the flowers right through this paint. So imagine if you were trying to paint over all of that black with this color, and it'd be there for a month of Sundays getting your base coats in. So this helps you reduce the number of coats you have to put on, but at the same time allows the color to stay nice and bright. And helps maintain that boldness, that contrast, which is what we want from this. We want those nice bright tones.
Deleted and blocked.
Oh, more of those?
Yeah.
It's been a week with Facebook. I have been deleting and blocking a bunch of posts like that this week. Not just from the Tracy Moore Alive page, but also from the Random Act of Kindness page, which drives me insane. So I've been trying to get rid of those. And I delete and block them, and then they turn up with yet another one. They just change their name and try it again. And then one of my thoughts for the day was deemed inappropriate.
Why would you do that?
Well, I didn't think it was a problem, but apparently the Facebook felt that it was violation of community standards, so I got chastised again and put on a 30-day wait.
Yeah, at least you didn't say Hitler was a bad guy this time.
No.
Or a good guy, sorry. Hitler was a very bad guy.
Yep. I didn't say he was a good guy. I just used his name, that's all.
Yeah. They didn't like that.
No, but apparently they don't like you to use the word stab either. You know, even if it refers to getting a straw into a juice box.
Judy Schumacher, first-time viewer from Arizona.
Hi, Judy. Welcome.
Welcome to the cult. Kool-Aid's in the corner.
Yeah, we're all a little crazy here. It's not essential, but it helps.
Oh, no, I think it's essential. Some form of mental instability is always welcome.
Geez, in our profession, I thought it was a job requirement. Well, you got to be a little bit crazy
to
to
do
do.
Resume.
I'm out of my mind. How do you like me so far?
Slightly cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Why do you think that sign says what it says?
You don't have to be crazy to be an artist, but it helps.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. I thought about changing that sign today, but nope.
I liked the I arted.
The I arted, yeah.
Yeah. I still think you should have had the F
Nope. Nope,
sideways and
nope.
somewhere else. Facebook has no sense of humor.
No, I am discovering that, unfortunately. I do. So I disputed it, and they took me off the 30-day suspension.
I've heard of crafters getting in trouble on lives for saying heat gun.
Yeah.
What?
Yep. You have to refer to it as a heating tool, otherwise it violates community standards. It's a heat tool.
Ow, my head.
I know.
Oh, the world we live in.
I know.
Isn't it fun?
No. Nope. This week it has caused me tremendous amount of stress.
Oh.
I don't like stress. Stress doesn't work in my creative world.
Yeah, but a little bit of stress is always good.
No.
Yes, you require stress in order to live. No stress, you're just...
Well, I suppose then
You're
you're
a
just
husk.
sailing along, but meh,
You're a happy husk.
really?
Tracy, do you like painting on glass plates?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. The only time I have ever painted on glass is when Deckwart has asked me to. Or if I'm testing product or what have you. But to be perfectly blunt, I detest painting on glass because I am not comfortable with that surface. It has nothing to do with the products that we use to do it, because Deckwart has a glass paint, an opaque one that I just love working with because it's a fabulous paint. I still don't like painting on glass. It's a control thing, I think, for me. And I get very frustrated painting on glass.
We have a business here in my hometown named Oops, I Arted.
Oh, cool. That's a great oops, I arted. Okay. I like the oops.
Patricia's wondering where she can find the shape tool that you used for the berries.
Oh, these things. We have a set of them on the website. They're called shape makers. These ones come individually from, this one is an artist's loft. So this one is from Michael's. And they're a heavier plastic. I find these ones are a little on the expensive side, though.
Yeah.
Well, usually they're, $8 to $10 for one. So, but I really can't complain because I have at least 10 of these in different sizes and
So you have
different
$100
shapes.
worth of shape
I have
makers.
$100. Oh, more than 100.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can get these at Staples. They're a drafting tool. You can get them at Michael's. You can get them almost anywhere. Any office supply place has them as well.
You can get... Debbie! Debbie with 500 stars.
Awesome. Thank you. The puppers will be so happy.
She says, for Raffin's friends.
Nice. I was on the website yesterday for our local shelter, and they have the sweetest little pup on there.
No, we can't. We can't.
I know.
As much as I want to go do the shopping and get all the treats and the foods and the beds and toys and leashes and collars.
It means you have to go to the shelter.
It means I have to go to the shelter, which means I'm going to see a dog that needs a home.
And
needs love.
surprisingly, the shelter doesn't have that many dogs right now, but they do have a fair
the
amount of
Fredericton
cats.
one doesn't get many anymore.
Yeah. But they do have a fair number of cats.
Yeah.
And I do miss my little sooters. My sooter kitty. She was my little studio pal.
How about this guy?
I know. That looks like Gizmo. I miss my little sooters. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
another 500 stars from Michelle Polheim.
Nice. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you very much. The puppers will appreciate it. They always do. I gotta refresh the chat. The second I scroll, it stops.
Yeah.
It stops auto-scrolling,
Yeah.
so I can't keep up.
So I love this coral, and it's just such a pretty color against that black. This is probably the most irritating part of painting this piece, is doing this base coating. I like leaving those little spaces in between, but sometimes it's, it's just not possible to, and get the nice base coat that you want at the same time. So fortunately, they still show through that color quite nicely. But because we have all that white in place, we're not fighting against that black. So we've got nice bright color.
I was trying to get some different quotes for insurance. And the minute I mentioned that my dog was a pit lab,
yeah.
they shut me down. It's not so much the pit bull, it's the lab. A lot of insurance companies won't cover lab mixes anymore. Just because they have the highest rate of cancers.
Yeah.
A lot more health problems than most other breeds. The pit bull, I have a hard time believing that an insurance company won't cover a pit bull.
Yeah. Miss Dot, even with her challenges, she has good coverage.
Yeah.
Just not for her back, but for all her other health issues.
Yeah. Which sucked.
But she's good now.
One of the best dogs I've ever had was a pit.
Yes. Pupper dogs. Best dogs.
You're a domestic house hippo.
Is that what house hippo? Okay. So while I'm working on this center here, I'm going to...
Will this require 2 coats?
No, I only use 1 coat. If you get the white down, that's all you need.
Yeah. Would you need 2 coats of the white?
No. I only put 1 coat on. Okay. I've got 1 coat of white on, and then 1 coat of the coral. Now, I know on camera it looks like it's very, very opaque, but I don't know if this will show it. If I bring it a little closer to the camera, you can still see there's some movement and textures and whatnot back there that were created by putting that white down, because you can still see some of that black peeking through. But we have 4 other shades of color to go over top of this. So by the time we're done, it won't matter. Not at all. So the leaves in this, we're base coating again. 1 coat. I'm going to be using Desert Cactus. I'm kind of hoping this paint will shake up, because it's not looking like it. There we go. Obviously that bottle had been sitting for a while. Now, this Desert Cactus is quite opaque, but because I'm working over black, I wanted that color to be a little more lively. So that is, again, same reason why I put that white down. And same reason I'm painting each of the segments separately, is to leave that little thin space there.
See, I love pit bulls because they're all body language. They don't show much in their face, but it's basically from the neck down to the tail.
Yeah.
You can read that dog a mile away. You know if it's going to be aggressive, or if it's happy, if it's scared.
Yeah.
Hey, pit bulls are just all body language. And they're goofy.
Yeah, they are goofy. Sweet, though.
They're just very territorial. That's where a lot of people have issues with training them.
Yeah.
These territory issues.
So on the upside, I love this Desert Cactus. Is just such a great color. So, and again, I'm only using 1 coat of this. Because that's all that's really necessary with that white down. So I speaking of decorworts, Coming up in March, end of March, beginning of April, is NAPTA Creativation, which is the National Art Materials Trade Association. And they do their annual show. And this year it is combining not just the fine art and art supply, but also the craft community to it. So it's going to be an exciting show.
Suddenly crave gingerbread cookies?
Oh, you still have the gingerbread dancing on there?
Of course.
Okay.
It's Bob.
It's Bob.
It's King Bob.
Speaking of Bob.
Speaking of Bob?
Speaking of Bob. I'm always looking for, fun little giveaways to tuck in with people's orders and whatnot. And I found some Bobs.
You found some Bobs?
So, yeah, so there's, well, actually, I found a bunch of things. So, I've been sending out Bobs and bunnies, and there's a variety of fun little things.
I got a zombie cookie right here.
You do have a zombie cookie right there. A zombie cookie. Oops.
And I have a zombie bunny.
Yep, you do.
Crunch, 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 Bob's gone.
So, almost there. I love this green, and I just love the way these colors pop off of that black.
Sue Potts is wondering what brush you're using.
This is a number 5 black gold round.
Okay, she says it covers very well.
It does. And partially because this brush opens up really nicely. It's not a big round, but look at it when I press down on it. Look how it opens up. And it moves the paint out really nicely. Look at that. Right brush for the right job.
Hmm, 13 inches of snow right now.
Woo.
Ooh, fun.
Just a little bit.
Will you be getting the mitten surface back in stock soon?
Yes, I just got some in, and I haven't looked at the inventory just yet, but I think they're low again. But yes, we are getting some more in already placed in orders. So they are available from Southern Ridge Trading at chipboard.ca if you're looking for them.
Well then, that's
What?
Bob also stands for battery operated boyfriend.
The things you learn.
Okay.
I thought I knew everything. I was wrong.
Well then.
So now I have my heat tool. God forbid we should, violate community standards.
Well, doesn't it say that? Heat it.
This is a heated tool.
A heat it tool.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't even actually heat anything. It heats the air.
Yes, and then blows the air at whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Word of wisdom, never leave the shoe store with the shoe you tried on. It gets ugly in the parking lot. Okay.
Could prove to be interesting.
In one of my orders, you sent me a mitten pin.
Yep.
Oh, that was Miss Daniker.
Yep. I like tucking little things in. I mean, there's always, little fun little gadgets and doodads that we find that we like to share. So I was looking for a fun little wood surface to put in, and I got these fabulous little Bobs. I got skates. I get a whole bunch of fun little shapes.
Nope. Christina Wood says, I got a Bob. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so glad. So that's that little pod in the middle of the flower. So we are ready to actually get into the fun stuff of this. So our base color for this was that coral, and our first jump off, first shading is going to be with that bright salmon. And this one's just going to establish a bit more tone, a little more richness, And it's going to help us establish all of the shading lines and the texture in these petals. So I'm going to grab one of my favorite angled shaders.
Robin Storm got a zombie sticker.
Did she? Awesome. I went through 100 of those pretty quick.
Oh, that was Robin Mitchell.
Yeah, Renee and his zombie bunny right over his desk.
I didn't expect anybody to actually do one.
It was fantastic. It's fun.
I love it.
So I've got a little bit of bright salmon on this brush. And I'm going to shade down into the lowest areas of these petals with this bright salmon. So quite obviously down in here where these petals overlap.
I get a little stocking in my order, and it's already painted for next Christmas.
Yay! Little stockings. I mean, I get a whole bunch of fun stuff. I just like tucking little extras in. We got the bees back in, and we got the mittens in. And there was something else I was waiting. Oh yeah, all of the other surfaces are in now. And I did get all those little holly leaves that I used this year for the RAK pins. Those little embellishments that I used. I got a bunch of those in, and we have yet to get them up on the website, but they'll be up earlier this week. So,
Linda, what'd you do? Linda Safranco.
what'd she do now?
Oh, she just donated $20.
Nice.
I don't see a message.
We'll have happy poppers.
The poppers, thank you.
Yes. So that bright salmon, that has just essentially established all of those little center veins.
Uh-oh. When you gonna paint the goat?
Soon. Very soon, actually.
You're gonna have to trademark soon.
Funny guy, you. So I'm just establishing a center vein on these petals with a little float. And it is rough. Don't worry about getting them perfect. It's just establishing where they are and setting some shadows right off the bat. We're going to do the same thing to that little one up there.
Miss Baxter's wondering, what type of brushes do you recommend for shading?
My personal preference, I use Dynasty Faux Squirrel or Dynasty Black Gold, and I use 3/8 or 1/2 angles most of the time. On larger surfaces, I will use either a 3/4 or a 1" Faux Squirrel angle. Those are my favorites. I just find I have a lot more control with them. They're easy to use. They're very precise. They hold a ton of paint, which is what I need them to do. And you can't kill them because some of these are like years old.
That's why you got them replaced.
Yeah, well, I bought 2 angled shaders from the brush guys. That's how bad off I was for a little bit.
But shade color.
Shading colors, I use a variety.
Linda had a question about shade color. I didn't. Where? Trying to find it. Linda had a question about shade color.
So there's some nifty little flip overs in these petals. Little ripples and whatnot. Those all have to be shaded.
There. I think I found it.
Okay.
Linda Safranco was wondering if you were to use coral blush instead of coral, would you still use bright salmon to shade?
No, I would go something a little bit darker. I would probably go right into some scarlet. Simply because the coral blush is a little brighter. Oh, let me see. I have coral blush. Let's have a look. That's bright salmon. Well, actually, they're about the same tone. It's actually the bright salmon is a little lighter than the coral blush, just a little. So you're not going to see much of a difference between the two. So you would have to go to something a little bit darker. And I think personally, this is what I would do. I would go to the scarlet. This is very transparent, so it's going to rely on the opacity of your base color. So a little bit of scarlet, I think, would be a good idea. The bright salmon is a little too close in value.
My son bought a gift certificate from you, and he kept the zombie sticker that was sent with the package. He said he laughed when he saw it and liked it and likes it.
Yep. I liked it. I thought he was cute.
The snowman pattern behind her is Let It Snow.
Oh, yeah, that's in the pixelated palette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. So, I'm going to switch over to a little bit of, that's not it. This is it. I'm going to switch over to a little bit of scarlet. I'm looking at the screen, and some of those flips don't show up very well on camera. So,
You want me to zoom in?
Yeah, if you could, a little bit. And I'm going to use a little bit of scarlet just to enhance this a little so that you can see what I'm doing. So along the edge of the flower, you'll see that there's these little dips. This is actually where there is a fold or a ripple in the edge of the petal. So I'm going to pull a little shadow along there, like so that it comes down to that center vein. So it's a little bright, but just so that you can see where they are. And that same scarlet is going to come down into the center of the flower, like so. Now I've thinned it out. I've gotten a little heavy-handed up here with that, but not a big deal. So and the other thing is, don't worry about getting these shadows absolutely perfect just yet, because honestly, it doesn't matter yet. There we go. So that little bit of scarlet helps you shape the textures in those petals. And for a little while, it's going to look like there's a whole bunch of harsh lines everywhere. And that's okay. We're going to smooth all of those out as we go. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side of that petal, right here. So again, we have that so they look a little rocky for a while, and it's okay. Those little lines eventually will soften up and move and smooth out when we start layering highlights in. But right off the bat, you're going to see where you have that shaded area, and then that base coat gives you an implied highlight right away. And then with that darker shadow in there. So now we're developing a little bit of texture and a little bit of movement in these petals. And I'm doing that with that scarlet. It has that deep orange tone to it. And it's very transparent. So it lets us get away with quite a bit. And it's a pretty color. So it separates out those petals really nicely. And then we get those nice darker values down in here. And then we're going to start doing the same thing to this leaf, this petal. Something I can help you with?
No, I'm just looking at the feed.
So it kind of, you get to fix a whole bunch of little odds and sods when you're doing this. The neat part is for me to sit here, paint this, and I can look up at the camera and I can see where I've made little whoopsies and boo-boos, and I can fix them. And one of them was right here. I cut it too sharp. And so it came off very square, like straight line, and I wanted it a little bit softer. So I'm just rounding that out a little.
Luxter says, "Hi, Tracy, watching you from Australia."
Wow. Either hasn't been to bed yet or got up very, very early.
No kidding.
There we go. So that softened that up a little bit. I'm trying to avoid any really harsh straight lines in here. There we go. Now our little petal here, actually you're seeing the underside of it here at the base, and then it flips over. So we need a nice dark value underneath here. And it also needs to curve down and away. So our shadow is going to go that way. And I like all these little angles. I like these little dips and folds in the petals. Just keeps things interesting. There we go. So we've got one more petal here. We're going to deepen that a little bit, and then we'll clean up a few little spots. And as I said, when you're doing this kind of thing, they look a little rough for quite a while, until you start cleaning up shadows and lines and adding in your highlights. So there is our we need a little shadow there because the underside has texture too. There we go. I just got one more spot I really want to. This one is a little lost back there. It's a little too light. So I'm going to deepen a couple of shadows. A little bit of that. There we go. I love how that scarlet makes this tulip just pop. It's very vibrant, lively. I'm going to come up to this little guy up here because he needs some really nice warm shadows down in here. When you want those nice, smooth floats, that's when the whole brush needs to be on the surface. So I start out on that point of that brush, but then when I'm coming down, this is what gives you those nice smooth floats, is having that whole brush laying on the surface. And we've got a petal back here that folds over top of this one here. So we need to separate those two a little bit and put a nice little shadow in. And then this one back here, it's got this nice little divot. Just a nice little fold. And we have this petal, actually has two surfaces. We have this one, which is facing us. It's the edge. It's actually the back of this petal here, and it's folded over and facing us. So we've got a nice little shadow here to separate those two, and to separate the one in behind it, which is this one here. So we have this nice little float in there that lifts that off the surface, but then we have this one that overlaps that. So we have to get a little shadow here so that it separates them properly. And then this one just slightly overlaps that. So this is how we get that depth in there. He's making faces as it's at his phone, so that tells me that he's on one of the shelter websites. Or a breeder.
No.
Don't lie to your mother. She knows you too well.
I am trying to find a puppy that fits the snafu name.
Oh. Of course you are.
I think a Mal would be awesome.
A Mal would be wonderful.
A Mal named Snafu or Fubar.
Yeah.
I think Fubar would be hilarious. Fubar for a boy.
Or bomb dog. Be a great name for a bomb dog.
Mind you, I have a line on a sniffing kit for a bomb dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can have one here next week.
I don't need one.
You want a bomb dog?
No. We have a puppy dog.
Yeah, she does narcotics though. Specifically meth.
Meth. Yeah.
Meth.
Yeah. Well, she used to.
No, she's still pretty good at it.
Well, you know, I laughed at her yesterday because she sniffed out the fact that I had a piece of cheese in my pocket before I even entered the room.
Got a nose on her.
Yes, she does.
Fubar is an awesome name. Yes. Yes, it is. But not the way you're spelling it. It's F-U-B-A-R.
Military guys, right?
And snafu.
Snafu, yeah.
Snafu for a girl.
Yeah. Fubar and snafu. I have dreams about waking up some mornings in my house. It's more like a kennel than a home.
One day.
Yeah.
One day. I will have a piece of property with, 3,000 square foot garage.
Uh-huh. An 800 square foot house.
If that. If that. Just needs to fit a bed and a stove.
Yeah. And a big old garage for all his puppy dogs.
Yeah, big old garage for the puppy dog.
Yep.
Either start a shelter or a puppy daycare. I think a daycare would be great.
Have you seen the video of the bus that goes around through a neighborhood and picks up
I love that idea. It's hilarious.
Picks up all the kids for doggy daycare. I think it's great.
Doggy daycare, shelter, or small training facility.
So our next color is this one. It's Coral Cloud. I really love this tone. It's a little bit muddy, It's rather peachy. If you don't have this one, there is one called Peaches and Cream that would work just fine. But we're going to be using Coral Cloud. I just wanted to stick to that coral family.
Somebody's calling you out on it, Mom.
What?
Why do you carry cheese in your pocket?
Well, I carried it for the puppy dog. Dot and I have an understanding. I am the keeper of the cheese.
Yes. The keeper of the cheese.
Yeah, I am the keeper of the cheese. Dot will do handsprings for cheese.
Real cheese.
Real cheese, not plastic cheese, real cheese. Because I've seen her turn her nose up at a cheese slice.
Yeah. Because it's not cheese.
It's not cheese. She smells it, goes, oh, cheese. And then she gets it in her mouth and goes,
Blech.
spits it out. Not the same thing when I give her cheese curd.
No. She gets cheese curd.
Yeah. She's a very happy camper when she gets cheese curd. She's a very spoiled puppy. Very, very spoiled.
Is Coral Cloud a new color?
I think it was a new color 2 years ago. 2019, 2020. I do believe. It's a nice tone. It's slightly grayed out. It's not an in-your-face coral color, but this is the one we're going to be using for our highlight. I'm not using it full strength. I'm watering it down just a little bit for a couple of reasons. One, it's very opaque and it has a lot of white in it, so it is our highlight color. And we want to be able to soften that out nicely. And it is. It's a very pretty highlight color. But it can, because it's got a lot of white in it, it can get a little too much too quickly if you're not careful with it.
Our dogs love dried yam and cauliflower and do all their tricks for it.
Yeah. I can see that.
Dot likes yams or sweet potato.
Yeah.
It's good for them. It's a good source of fiber.
Yeah.
When I was leaving back east, they got spoiled weekly. Oh, hi, Karen.
Dot gets spoiled daily, not weekly.
No, I think they were talking about me.
Well, you're spoiled, period. There. So I got a little highlight of that Coral Cloud. I love how bright that is against that scarlet. But it's quite soft. And we're going to punch that up a little bit a little later on too. So we're going to be doing a little bit of chisel blending on the edges of these petals just to add a little extra highlight in a few places.
Another goodie package coming your way.
Oh no. Oh yeah. My birdie. Karen's been baking for me again.
Uh-oh. It's those ginger snaps. I'm sorry. Nobody makes ginger snaps like Karen.
No. Even though I use a very similar recipe, mine just don't come out the way hers do. Hers are yummy.
So it's obviously not love.
Aww. That's so sweet.
Brownie points.
Brownie points.
Well, my pineapple squares.
That's what it is. Okay.
How's the cleanup going? Oh, that's for somebody else.
So this is not this is not a difficult. Oh, did I ever make a mess there? Too much liquid in my brush. Sorry.
Raffin will do anything for any food. He had scrambled eggs in his food this morning.
Ooh.
That's as long as it's not cooked with butter. But scrambled eggs are good. Dot gets eggs.
Yeah. She gets a hard-boiled egg every night for her treat. among other things.
What size brush are you using right now?
This one is a 3/8 angle. The only reason I use this one is because it fits so nicely into a lot of these smaller areas without having to, mess around with it too much.
No butter, just plain. Scrambled eggs are good. Hard-boiled eggs are good. Even a raw egg with the shell is good.
Lovely. So that pulls all of those shapes, all of those textures and whatnot in the petals together very easily. And you don't really have to putz with it all that much. We are going to brighten some of these highlights. We're going to add some textures to the edges of the petals, but we needed to establish all of this texture first. So I'm going to start adding a little bit of highlight to this little fella down here because we want to get some nice bright edges on these petals, like so.
My golden retriever loves bananas with peanut butter on it. Would take you down for this.
Banana bums.
Banana bums. Yeah. Bananas are good, you just can't give them too often.
Yeah. Dot's not keen on bananas.
No, I don't know why.
Nope. She's not keen on bananas, but she sure loves carrots.
Yeah. Loves carrots.
She also likes spinach. And she'll sell her soul for those old Roy chew bone things that Dad gets her.
They're not the greatest thing for her, but...
No, but she sure loves them.
Yep.
So she gets, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 a week. Dad's relaxed somewhat.
Why not butter? Butter is far too fatty and can cause problems with the pancreas.
Yep. It's not so easy for them to digest either.
Yeah. And most people use a salted butter, which is also not good for their liver.
No, they don't process salt very well. One of Dot's favorite things are those Twizzler thingies.
Oh, the bacon and cheese Twizzlers?
Bacon strip cheese. She loves those things.
Yeah. She'll do handstands for yogurt.
Yes. She does love yogurt.
Unflavored, unsweetened yogurt.
Yep. And she also loves her milk.
Yeah. Small amounts.
Yep. And low fat. We use the 2% instead of whole milk.
We actually use a lactose free.
Yep. So I'm on the edges of these little flip overs. I'm just putting a little bit of that. Just a nice little float of that coral cloud. It's such a pretty name for a color. Coral cloud.
Okay, I've never heard of dogs liking dried mangoes.
Well, dried fruit.
Yeah, dried fruit is good.
Yeah.
But not mangoes.
Why not mangoes?
What
What do you got against mangoes? It's high acid, I would imagine.
Yeah. Usually anything high acid or something citrusy is...
Yeah. Well, they're not really citrusy.
Mind you, watching dogs try to eat lemons is hilarious.
Yeah. Watching anybody try to eat lemons is hilarious.
My Yorkie doesn't like peanut butter. That's weird for a dog.
Yeah.
Some dogs can be allergic to peanut butter.
Yep.
And I don't recommend like Kraft or Jif for anything with a high sugar count.
Yeah. You're better off with a natural peanut butter. Although, Kraft now makes a natural peanut butter.
Yeah, but they changed the name of the sugar they use.
No, they have one that is unsweetened, no sugar added at all. It is a...
I'd like to read the label on that.
Yep.
Because what they did with a lot of the sugar-free butter,
Yeah.
peanut butters.
They have sugar-free, but this is not a sugar-free. This is a natural peanut butter.
What they did was just change the name of the sweetener that is actually toxic to dogs.
Yes.
And they call it birch sugar rather than xylitol.
Yes, I know. But this is unsweetened. It's just ground peanuts. It even states on the label that separation of oils and whatnot is normal.
Oh, yeah.
So there's nothing. You read the label, it just says peanuts.
Peanuts. As it should.
Yeah. What does this contain? If it's got more than 3 ingredients in it, something that you can eat right out of the shell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you probably shouldn't give it to your dog.
Yeah.
Mind you, there's lots of...
Again, you probably shouldn't eat it.
We actually have a cookie that we give Dot that is perfectly fine for you to eat. Mm-hmm. And it actually is a really good cookie. It's a peanut butter cookie.
Yep. It's pretty bad. My husband and Renee, Dot's got to vie for a cookie with them because they'll eat her cookies. So we're going to leave the flowers for a few minutes. We're going to come down to do these leaves and the stems. Now, our base color on this is that desert cactus. I love that it's sort of a tealy, grayed out green. And because of that, that's one of the reasons that I went to this cooler shading color. And I'm using mermaid tail. I love the transparency of this color. It's very rich. It's like a jewel tone teal. It's just beautiful. And on this green, it's fantabulous. It's a wonderful shading color on this desert cactus. It pops.
My son gives our dogs jerky. I'd get him to stop that. That's a lot of salt.
Yeah. Well, it's not people jerky. If it's puppy jerky, that's different. Yeah. It's just dried meat. That's okay, but most jerkies are over-seasoned and over-salted.
And if they use liquid smoke, that's extremely toxic to dogs.
Yeah.
So, no use liquid smoke.
So, all I'm doing at this point is just, again, doing what I did with the flowers. I'm establishing some of the texture and the foldovers and delineating some of the design elements. And in this case, that's the petals and the leaves, showing off that texture and the folds and whatnot. The float of that mermaid tail. It's just such a great teal. So pretty.
Ooh. I made Instant Pot creamy chicken spaghetti last night.
Instant Pot.
Instant Pot creamy chicken spaghetti. So yummy, I think tonight it's going to be cheeseburgers. Oh, there's Patrick. Patrick's probably been here for a while.
Patrick finally got his Christmas box yesterday.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
Right on.
So.
He's probably been here for a while. Just, I gotta switch between streams again. Mermaid tail is my favorite color.
I love this tone. It's one of those ones that kind of grew on me. Not really a teal person. I do like blues and reds, but was never really a teal person. But they came out with mermaid tail, and I just sort of went, "Oh, that's yummy." It's just a yummy color, and so I find myself using it more and more. I like the coolness of it. It has temperature-wise, it's just a really pretty blue-green. Has a nice cool temperature to it, so it works really well for things like this where I didn't want a traditional green. I wanted something a little more contemporary and a little more cool. So this worked nicely for me. And it lets me, play up some of the textures in these leaves a little bit. Very nice. And because it's such a transparent color, layers and layers and layers will give you tons and tons of depth without making things look heavy-handed. And so in that color, it just works for me. So the stem on this flower, we need to get up underneath these petals. Nice little shadow under here. Now, when I did my first one, I kind of whoopsied a little bit. I put my shadow on this side when my light source is on that side. So I kind of got it reversed. So the shadow should be on this side. But I whoopsied when I was painting the original, and I didn't notice it until later on that I had managed to put my shading on the wrong side of the stem because my light source is coming from the left. So having my shading on the left was not accurate.
If you want a good iPhone app for recipes, use Tasty.
Yes, I love Tasty.
Because you can actually make a shopping list right in the app, and it'll tell you which stores it has it on sale and where you can get it.
Yep.
And which aisle it's in.
Yep. Tasty's a great app.
I love the Tasty app, and they're simple recipes.
Simple is not always a bad thing.
And healthy recipes, if you're looking for... I saw one for chickpea salad.
Oh, yeah. Something someone else can eat.
It looked good.
I don't often go, ew. But when it comes to chickpeas,
Yeah.
I just, nope. I got nothing.
And what one of your favorite ones, the dill pickle salad. That came up on Tasty a couple days ago. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I love dill pickle salad.
Don't go on Pinterest. You'll be there forever. Yeah, you go down rabbit holes on Pinterest.
Time well wasted. So I just want to get a little shadow on the underside of here. So there we go. Not bad, says I.
Tasty wouldn't work for us. LOL.
There we go. I think I'm happy. So I've established all of the turnovers, the flips, the textures in the petals and in the leaves. And I think I'm happy with that. I think I'm really happy with that. So my highlighting color for these leaves is this one. It's this jadeite glass. And from what I gather, it is not all that easy for people to find, which I find very frustrating. I'm with all of you. I know how frustrating it is to find colors when half the retailers that we have don't stock a full line. So that's why I try not to deviate too much when it comes to color selections. But every once in a while, you got to get out of your comfort zone.
Claudia Maria just became a member.
Welcome, Claudia.
Member.
Going to have a lot of fun. We have a good time. We're always doing something different. Keep in mind, if you're interested in joining the membership group, there's two different ones. One is for videos only, which means that you have access to all of the member videos, but that is all you have access to, is just those member videos. And that one, what is the price on that one?
$5.99.
$5.99. So that one gives you access to all of the members' videos. If you're a full-fledged member, which is the second tier of the membership group, that one is $25 a month, $29.
$26.99.
$26.99 a month. And then, but you have access to all of the current videos. You get one live class a month for members only, which is, those are videos recorded as well. Plus you get the pattern kit, or the pattern that goes with that. So, not to mention we have, challenges and prizes and, and lots of freebies, and we do a lot of fun things. So, so thank you for joining us.
Behind the scenes stuff too.
And we do a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. So we have a good time. Not to mention, we have a really great group.
Yeah.
Like, really great group. Linda Safranco is one of our Facebook admins. She handles the Facebook group page. And she just sort of did it. So we made her an admin. She's just been absolutely phenomenal support-wise and helping other painters and making sure that announcements are put up. And she's just been awesome. So we're ready for all the fun stuff. We've got all the textures created and all of the flip overs, the turnovers and whatnot are set. We know where all the highlights are going to go. So now it's time to really start creating some movement and some pattern. And we're going to do that with chisel blending. Now, I have 2 highlight colors for this piece. I was working with Coral Cloud on the petals of the flowers, and we're working with Jadeite Glass for the highlights on these leaves. If you don't have Jadeite Glass, limeade will work. Any one of those bright limey greens or a bright minty green will work just fine. And then I have a little bit of warm white because we're going to brighten this color a little bit by adding just a little smidge of warm white to it, just to brighten it a little bit. So we're going to start with the chisel blending on the petals. And I'm going to use a little bit of this and a little bit of warm white. And it's a brush mix. So I've got a little bit of warm white on my brush and a little bit of Coral Cloud. And I'm going to blend that out just so that it melds together. Essentially what I'm making is just 1 or 2 values brighter than what's already there. And I'm going to load the brush as if I'm going to float. And I'm going to stand it on its chisel edge with the brightest part towards the outside edge of the petal. And it's a little light tap and pull. And I do these in little clusters of 3 to 5. And you have to follow the edge of the petal and the curve that you've established. So if it curves that way, you've got to turn your brush accordingly. So it just creates a little bit of texture at the edges of the petal.
Just realized we might have to move the membership class.
Oh, okay.
Because, my new schedule starts this Monday.
Right.
And I won't be here Tuesday.
Okay.
But if
we'll
we could
figure
move
it out.
to Wednesday, that'd be great because I'll be here for that.
Okay. Well, we'll see what we have to do. We'll do whatever we have to do.
Just a heads up to the members.
Yep.
We might have to move the class with my new schedule. Which, that was a shotgun blast out of nowhere.
So that little tap and pull, it creates a brighter highlight, but at the same time, it also creates a little bit of texture at the edges of the petal. So it brightens your highlight, but it also creates a little texture. And I like that little bit of texture. It just makes things a bit more interesting.
Either the people on Facebook are quiet today or my chat's not working.
I don't know. Let's have a look. I'm seeing... Oh, it's still there.
Yeah. Okay.
It's still there. I like this little bit of texture at the edges. It helps brighten things. And if you space these a little bit, you get that texture. It just creates like a little... I won't say a ruffle, because I don't think ruffle is accurate, but it creates a little bit of texture at the edges of these petals.
Do you need a refill or?
Yes, please, if you don't mind. Yep.
Water and a little juice?
Yes, please. I just like that. And I'm going to come over to this one here. So it's just creating, as I said, a little tap and pull. It just creates a little bit of texture and movement on the edges of those petals. And it's a very light tap and pull. And I'm going to do a little bit on this one as well. And I'm always keeping in mind the direction that the petal folds or that the petal moves, so that we don't end up with bars cutting across the petals, etc. And as I said, there's tiny little spaces between. Otherwise, it just becomes a white glob or a bright white glob at the edge of the petal. You don't want that either. So a light tap. It doesn't have to be heavy, and it doesn't have to be a lot. There we go. Thank you. Okay. Was a little over full.
My bad.
Thank you. At least it didn't go in my lap, which is usually where it ends up. There we go. Oh, thank heavens for my apron.
No kidding. Scarf protection.
It is over full. Okay. Okay, we're good.
All right.
Flood has been averted. I'm a fan. I like this little bit of texture at those little places. It just makes things interesting. Takes a little practice. And it's nice if you've got an angled shader that's got a really sharp chisel edge, because then you can get, nice, clean highlights. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So, there we go. So those little highlights make a world of difference. It creates a little texture and a little interest on the edges of those petals. And it helps create a little more pattern too on those leaves with very little effort. So I think I'm just about there when it comes to my... So I want a slightly brighter highlight in a couple of places here on this right here. Just needs a little brightening, I think. Just so that we have a nice contrast. There we are. So now I can take that same technique and I'm going to come down to the leaves for this. We're going to use a little bit of that jadeite glass or limeade, whatever bright, sort of a pastel minty green. Just needs to be a lighter value. And we're going to load the brush the same way we did for some of the initial highlights on the edges of these petals. So just a nice little float. I just find getting that float in first helps establish where highlights need to go. So I've got one there, and we're going to put one on the edge of this. That leading edge of those folds and flips in the leaves. These are not perfect floats. They are just establishing where highlights are going to be positioned. And then, of course, on that stem, coming down back here, remember, I did it backwards on mine. So we need a nice little float down the back side of that stem. And that little float is going to really separate that stem from those leaves. There we go. I'm going to come over here to this leaf. Nice wide float, just to give us a highlight on that edge. And another float here. So there we go. I'm going to brighten a little spot here. This just needs a little brightening up. And then I'm going to move up to this little one up here. So we need a nice strong center vein right there. And don't forget the back side of this leaf is going to get that highlight from that left side. So it needs to have a highlight on the back as well. And then we have a nice little highlight on the inside edge of this stem. I just realized we forgot to put a shadow on that one. There we go. So we've got our highlights in place. We are going to have to come back up here and put in a shadow on the back side of that stem because I forgot to. So a little bit of mermaid tail in there. There's our nice little shadow. Now, I love doing this part because I find that it really gives texture, and it's all about texture. I love the texture it creates on the edges of these petals. And it's the same thing that we did to the edge of the flowers. We're going to work in small clusters. I'm using that same green. And I'm holding this brush at an angle because I want to create sort of those lines or those vein lines that you would see in leaves. And I kind of want them to all point back towards the center vein on that leaf. Whether or not it's pointed out or whether it's drawn in there or shaded in there, we're still aiming to bring it back there. Just to help create the texture that we need on these petals. So it's a light tap, a tap and pull, and it helps create that texture. And as I said, I like to work in little clusters of 3 or 5. I find 4 is a little too and then you can pull it back towards where you would see the center vein being. So it instantly creates some of those vein lines that you would see in the leaves. So tap and pull. You can go over this a couple of times if you're not happy with them, but I think I'm okay with that. Now there is going to be a little highlight on that vein line. So I'm going to put a little float of that green in there. And then I'm going to come over to this set of leaves and I'm going to repeat that whole process. So I'm starting out a little small on this down here. And like I said, just little clusters, 3 to 5 on. And as I'm moving, you notice that I'm curving the brush because this is curving. If I kept it going in one direction, it would look very static, and I don't want that. So
Nice kid.
March, spring break must be coming. All of the local college painters are out in force these days.
Ooh. I'm missing some of the chat here. Not seeing any Facebook stuff.
I see a little from time to time. So this part actually looks a little messy for a little bit. I need more color in my brush. I have always loved using this technique for creating texture on things, especially leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Butterflies is another one that makes great texture on butterflies. I'm liking it. So stand it up on the chisel edge, tap and pull towards the center line. Don't forget to change direction as the leaf changes direction. So if you always go in the same vein, it gets really static looking and stiff. And we don't want static or stiff. And those little gaps in between, they just help create a little more texture and interest. So, I've got texture on my leaves. I do have a flip here that I want to put a little texture on. Just because I can, and it's kind of wanting a little. Looks a little boring. There we go. So I think I'm happy. Now the fun part for this is it all looks a little messy and a little meh until did anyone ask what was for dinner yet? Yes, we're having country style pot roast. That's what we're having for dinner tonight.
Yum.
We had sushi for dinner last night. Beat the heck out of pizza. I thought. Then again, I don't care for pizza, so.
Oh, Virginia Hedges has become a member.
Hi, Virginia.
Welcome to the cult.
So, I've got half-inch angle. I went for a bigger brush this time around. And I've loaded it with a little bit of that mermaid tail. And now I'm going to go back and deepen. This gives you a nice wide float. So I'm going to go back and deepen all of those shadows that I went over the first time. And then that little bit extra overlays goes right over top of all of that chisel blending. And it sort of brings it all together. So that now we don't have any blunt edges. Everything takes on a very smooth transition. It becomes much softer. Now, I thinned out my mermaid tail a little bit for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted this color to be a little more transparent so that I had a little more control over it. So if I get a little heavy-handed, it's okay. And it helps.
What is country style pot roast?
It's done in a slow cooker. I cook it in a slow cooker. And it's just seasoned with vegetable soup. I use the Knorr dry vegetable soup. And then it's carrots and onions and a little bit of celery thrown in with some water. And you use a really inexpensive cut of beef for it. I use a blade roast. And then just put it in slow cooker and let it go all afternoon until it's nice and tender. And it just makes the most delicious gravy. I always serve it up with smashed spuds.
There was a question about snowflakes.
Okay. Mini snowflakes?
I don't know. You gotta find it. Have the snowflakes come in yet?
They have. I just got them, so they may not be up yet. But yes, we got the snowflakes in. We got the little holly leaves that I used. We had a whole bunch of those in. So we just got them all packaged up this morning. So I'll get them added to the site today. So we have a little bit more shading to do on our flower. This is where things get more interesting. I'm using a little bit of True Red. This is a bit more in your face than the Scarlet. And this is our shading color for this. It's going to get thinned out quite a bit. And this goes into those deep, deep areas of our flower. I'm also using a bigger angled shader to shade this with, because I want these shadows to be quite deep. These are the ones that are down low in the center of the flower. Under those turnovers, those areas where the flowers are deepest. Up underneath here. It's always surprising to me how well these reds shade these corals. And it's just such a lovely color. And all of these deep areas, where these flowers, those petals overlap, down in here, where we can really separate these two. We want those darker shadows down in there.
Somebody's doing a moose roast.
Yummy.
Yum.
So I just love how that red just pops this coral. It just makes that color jump big time. So I want to clean up a whole bunch of things on here. I'm going to do it with a 15-aught liner. And I just realized that I hadn't highlighted our little pod down here in the center of the flower. So I want to put a little highlight in there. There we go. We have a nice little pod in there. Now, we have some stamen elements in there that we have to work on. I'm going to use a little bit of lamp black. Me and this bottle of black paint have issues. What are you chuckling about?
Linda's wondering what colors would be good for a yellow flower.
You know what? When it comes to yellow, you need a good orange to keep that yellow nice and hot. For me, sunny day, a white base, sunny day, sunset gold or saffron yellow for your brighter elements, and then orange flame or even spiced pumpkin to me is a really great combination. I really love bright yellows. So remember, we have stamens in here. Remember, you barely see them in here, but they're there. So there's one. I'm just using comma strokes to pop these in. Oops. Not enough water in my brush. or glaze. Not enough something. Go. So I'm going to dry these because we just have a few little things to do to this as far as finishing off these flowers. And it's mostly line work. I like outlining the edges of my flowers. It's a me thing. So I'm going to use my extra long detail liner and a little bit of thinned coral cloud, which is that lighter value. And it has to be thinned. I like doing the edges of my flowers this way. I do this with my leaves too. They do not have to be right on the edge of the petal. It's just a fine little line. I just find that it softens the edges of things very nicely. Da-da-da-da.
You should make an alarm clock that sounds like a dog about to puke.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing gets you out of bed faster.
That's quite true. I saw the cutest little video the other day of a puppy getting his first wheelchair.
Oh, yeah?
And he didn't want to get in it. But he was just so wee. He was still just very small. But kudos to his adopted family. It's one thing to have, an adult dog that develops an issue. It's another thing altogether to know from the minute he's born that,
yeah.
But yeah, this puppy got a really good family because they were fitting him for his first wheelchair, which is just flippin' awesome. And he's a cute puppers. I'm thinking he was of the English Bulldog variety. Or something along that line. He was very cute. But he didn't want to get in it. And he was putting up a bit of a fuss. And they finally got him into it. And then he was like, oh, hey, this is neat. There we go. So this is just my way of, I like cleaning up edges. It just creates a little ruffle and a little extra texture. And I just like how it looks. This is how I do the edges of leaves and petals. I like that loose little line. It just softens things a little bit. And it's good practice with a liner. And these are my favorites. I absolutely love these. These are Dynasty Micron Extra Long Detail Liners. They are fantastic. They're surprisingly hold more paint than you'd expect. What? Now what?
Sean.
Oh no. What's he up to now?
He sent me one that says, how much faith do you have in the human race? Let's put it this way. I look both ways crossing a one-way street.
Okay. That's just faith in drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what they say? Every time a snowflake falls, someone forgets how to drive. In a province where we get a lot of snow,
You'd think.
you would think that people would be used to it by now, but
I saw somebody riding their motorcycle the other day.
yeah, after we'd had what, 2 ice storms back to back,
Yeah.
you know. I haven't decided if they're just crazy or, living dangerously. I think it might be a combination of both. So everything that I do to the edges of the petals, I do to the leaves as well. Like I said, it doesn't have to be dead on the line. It doesn't have to be well within the painted green. It can be, very soft and delicate line. It does not have to be perfect. I like how this puts a little accent on things, but at the same time softens some of those details so that nothing is too hard and fast. So, soft petal, that little bit of line. I'm going to pop this little highlight on the stem here and again over here because I want that a little bit brighter. And we are ready to start doing a little detail in the center of our flower. Now I'm using warm white and I'm using a little bit of sunset gold. I finally got that name right. I've been calling this golden sunset for I don't know how long, and it's just not the right name.
Listexia.
So on the centers of these stamens, I'm going to add some tiny little dots of the yellow, just like so, on these stamens. They don't have to be uniform in size. We're just creating a little texture. They needn't be perfect.
Where's the asphaltum today?
It's coming.
You thought she wasn't going to use asphaltum. That's funny.
It's coming.
I see you're putting your fan to work.
Yeah. I had a hot flash yesterday.
Does it work?
It works like a hot damn. Yes.
Good.
They gave me a handheld fan that has attached to a spray bottle, so I can fan my face and mist myself with cool air. They get tired of watching me have hot flashes. So I'm going back in on these stamens in just a few places with a little bit of warm white. Just a few little dots just to highlight them. And it kind of helps draw the eye towards the center of the flowers. And while I'm there, I get a little bit of warm white on my brush, and I picked up a little bit of mermaid tail. I'm going to do the top of that pod with just 3 or 4 little strokes, just to add a highlight on top of that, just to make it look more like a pod. So essentially there's 3, 4 little comma strokes, like sesame seed sized comma strokes on top of that pod, just to give it a little texture. So now that we have all of that in there, we're going to tone all of this. Because if you thought we weren't going to be using some asphaltum, you were sadly mistaken. Now, I come up with a couple of ideas for the background of this. I'm really quite obsessed with these leafy backgrounds. I've been playing with an idea for a little while, and this was just sort of how this all came together. I was sort of inspired by some fabrics, some vintage fabrics. And in the background, they had these gold thread leaves in the background, and then these really over the top bright red tulips and magnolia, and just oversized, big in-your-face flowers on a black background, and then these threaded gold leaves in there. And that kind of really got my attention, and that's one of the reasons I went with this particular design, was because I really liked how that gold on the black played up the flowers in the front. So if you wonder where my brain goes, welcome. That's where it went. I had seen some beautiful old vintage fabrics, and this is where my brain went with it. So I need my Asphaltum. So Asphaltum. Now in this particular case, we're going to be using this color a bit more, shall we say, restrained than normal. You're chuckling and you're texting back and forth with Sean.
No. It's just a video, and I think all you need is the audio.
Okay. Will we keep our PG rating?
A dot. Lemon used on my face, and I washed it.
Did you wash it with chocolate?
Yep.
On your face?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's priceless. Did you wash it with chocolate? Yep. I sure did.
Got ramen noodles on my face? Okay. And I washed it. Okay. Did you wash it with chocolate?
Yep. So I'm just going in to the lower areas of these flowers and under those turnovers with a little float of Asphaltum. And all it's doing is subduing those colors in the middle just a little bit. It's deepening these colors just a little bit. It deepens some of those shadows, gives us a little more contrast, but only a little bit. We don't want to overpower this. We don't want to kill off all of that wonderful vibrancy that we worked so hard to get, but we need to change the value just slightly. So a little float of Asphaltum does that for us. So it gives me the ability to deepen some shadows without making things too dark and too heavy. Now, the reason that I use the Asphaltum is because, one, it's a warm color, so I don't end up flattening out the color. I don't end up cooling off things too much. I can deepen shadows. I can warm things up. I can increase the contrast, sharpen details with it without overworking it. It's one of the reasons that I love this color, is because it's warm and it's transparent, and I can do a number of things with it that I couldn't necessarily do without drastically changing the color of these flowers if I chose a different one. The only thing I take care of doing is trying not to use the color full strength, because it'll end up making things look dirty if it's too strong. It is a very dark color. Even though it's transparent, it's still a dark color. So we don't want to get a little heavy-handed with it. So I use it in thin, transparent layers, and that way you have all kinds of control. And you can stop when you're happy. Now, I'm pretty happy with all of this going on in here, but there's a couple of spots here where I'd like them a little darker. So just in that little flip for this petal here, just to delineate it a little bit, give it a little more definition to imply that this is sitting above that. It just gives me that contrast that I was looking for. And I can do the same thing underneath here. I can deepen that shadow underneath there with a little bit of that Asphaltum. So it gives me the value that I want without drastically changing the color. And it keeps that nice warm tone, which is what I really wanted. So I think that I'm quite happy with my flowers. I am going to deepen a shadow on top of that little pod just to set it back a little bit. And I can do the same thing with the Asphaltum on these leaves. So if I find that things aren't quite perhaps as sharp as I'd like, or deep as I'd like. Maybe I want the value a little darker. Maybe I want things a little more refined. Maybe I want to just warm up these colors just a little bit. So a little float of asphaltum goes a long way. And again, I am not using this color full strength. I've thinned it out so that I have control. So it changes the values of those greens, but it doesn't drastically change the color, which is what I want. So now we have our tulips done, and now we get to do all the fun stuff in the background. And we're going to start with those pearls. I don't know, I'm obsessed with like polka dots and pearls and little balls in the background. I don't know what it is about me and these pearls, polka dots. But I've got a little mermaid tail on this brush, and I'm going to put a float of mermaid tail on the bottom of each of these pearls, and I'm coming in just slightly in from the edge, just leaving a sliver of white showing, just a sliver. Comme ça. That little sliver does wonders. It actually helps you create the illusion that these are spherical. Gives them a little bit more realism. Now remember, our light source is over here on the left. So our highlights are going to be on the upper left of these pearls. So little float mermaid tail, like so. And then I'm going to rinse out my brush. We're going to pick up a little bit of warm white. I'm going to thin this out quite a bit. And then we're going to put a highlight on the opposite side, upper left. And we're using that same process. We're leaving just a sliver of that original base color. Just a sliver. It does not have to be a lot. But this is going to give us a nice spherical looking pearl. Just that little sliver. Now, it's not a wide space. It's just a little. There. So we've got our highlights on, and now we're going to switch back over to our micron liner. And I'm going to pick up just a little dab of warm white on the tip of the brush. And on the upper left, just in from the edge, and on that little float that we put there, we're going to put just a dot of warm white. And that is just your light impact point. That's where the light strikes, and then the light bends or passes around the surface. So now we have pearls. So I need to dry those. And then we can start working on these leaves in the background. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. Now, I did the first one. I used one of my gold paint pens. I'll show you which one in just a sec. I like my gold paint pens. These are the ultra fine or the extra fine liquid gold, the Deco Color liquid gold opaque pen markers. I really like these ones. Of course, it would help if I got one I could get the lid off of. There. So they have a nice fine point. These work really, really well. So you're welcome to use these. But the one thing I found was when I wanted to shade over top of them, they're very hard to shade on because the paint doesn't stick to this oil-based paint in those pens. Not very well, anyway. So I decided it would behoove me to use an acrylic to do these ones. So you can use a 24 karat gold in any acrylic paint line. Will work just fine. So if you have a favorite, by all means, use it. The one that I'm using is this one. This is Decawart Fluid Acrylic. This is the media line. Their metallics in the media line are absolutely spectacular. They are very, very opaque and they cover very well. And I cannot get this off. Not without a tool of some sort. There. Shrink wraps. Ugh. So, and this one has been sitting a while, so I'll give it a good shake. So, Decawart Media Fluid Acrylic Metallic Gold. This one is a nice gold. Very finely milled, so the color is really nice. And we're going to work with a 50-aught or a 10-aught extra long detail liner. And you're going to thin out some of that metallic paint. And then using the liner, we're going to stroke in all of these wonderful leaves. Stems first. I find the stems are so much easier. Because then, if you whoopsie some of these leaves, it's okay. Because God knows I have whoopsied more than my fair share these days. There we go. So if you're feeling adventurous, by all means, use the liner to do this. But if you're not and would feel more comfortable using the gold paint pen, then use the gold paint pen. It achieves the same end. I just found that the gold paint pen was a little more problematic when it came to shading where the flowers overlap some of the gold work, but it's not terrible. And that gold is just such a pretty metallic. So it's just line work. Don't worry too much if it doesn't follow the line drawing to the letter. It honestly, it doesn't matter. As long as you can get that leaf pattern back there, it's all good. Even if you wanted to freehand it, I mean, you absolutely. Now, the trick to a liner is getting your paint the right consistency. That's the biggest trick. So, which is one of the reasons that I like using that Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze, especially for line work, is because it comes off the brush so nicely. It's very fluid. It's very easy to work with. It just helps the brush do its job that much better. Oops. Well, that one got a little thick, but that's okay. I kind of like this, the more loose appearance of this, so it looks a little less drawn on. So if they're imperfect, it's okay. Just makes them a little bit more interesting. And then when we're finished with these leaves, I'm going to show you using that black, Factus black or the Tombow black eraser to remove the graphite lines from, oops, missed that, from a black background, just so that you avoid any damage to the painted surface. To, you know, the black paint gets smeared so easily, and so we kinda want to avoid making a mess of our background or polishing the black background or marring it in any way. So that's one of the reasons I use that Factus black or the Tombow black erasers, because they don't polish the background. They don't mar that black paint in the background. So
Had to take puppy.
puppy needed to go out.
Yep.
Yep.
Could you use a metallic in rose gold?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. If you prefer to use a rose gold, I think it would be very pretty. Would be certainly in keeping with the color scheme. Would have that. I think even copper would look really pretty with this. But again, don't worry too much, like I said, about getting these leaves absolutely perfect. Because by the time you get all of those graphite lines erased, nobody's going to know what they look like in the first place. So it doesn't matter. And you'll forget once you have it all done anyhow. So. I just think it's an interesting way to treat a background, to incorporate unwanted leaves because it had a spring theme.
Did I missed a puppy question apparently.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find it. Renee, so fern sheet problems are starting. Somebody's got a Frenchie. What can I put on a tail with yeast?
Oh.
Oh, poor pup. Give me 1 second.
Poor puppa dogs. So almost there. I kind of like that, you know, the reflectivity of the metallic on the background. I could see this done with a white paint pen too. I think it would be pretty. With lots of pattern back there. I just think this has sort of a fabric look to it, which is kind of what I was going for. It was fun. Fun and doable. I am a firm believer in both. Almost there. And then we're going to dry that metallic. Ta-da! Ooh. So now you could stop right here if you want to. I kind of like having a little more depth to this. So I floated a little bit of that gold at the base of the leaves. But before I do that, I need to get rid of some of these graphite lines. Once that glaze goes over those graphite lines, you can't get them off. So I want to get rid of some of those. So I'm going to find my, whichever black eraser comes up first. Oops, a Factus black. So And this is one of the reasons that I went, again, I talk about using that 0.38 pen for doing my tracing instead of using a stylus. And this is the reason for it, is those graphite lines are much finer and so much easier to get rid of. So I can erase them with that Factus Black without creating shiny spots or polished marks on the black paint, which makes a world of difference. It's so frustrating when you're painted something, you've gone to all of this work, and then you got to take your graphite lines, and one of two things happens. Either you end up with a shiny spot where the graphite lines were or wherever the eraser touched, or you end up pulling the paint right off the surface. And that's one of the things that I love about this Factus Black and the Tombow Black erasers, is that they don't do that. They're gentle to the surface, but they do get rid of graphite very nicely. It makes life so much simpler. Look at that. So you end up with a nice painted piece. No shiny spots to have to fight against when you're varnishing. Nice, clean, painted, finished piece with none of those raggedy graphite lines showing through. I like it. And it doesn't damage your paint. There's just nothing more frustrating than all of that hard work being ruined by one of the final steps. You know? So, off comes those gross graphite lines. Bob's your uncle, Sally's your aunt. And I'm going to go with my 3/8 angle, and I'm going to pick up some of that 24 karat gold, that media gold, and I'm going to blend it like I'm going to float, because I am going to float. And then I'm just going to put a little C-stroke float at the base of my leaves. Now, if you've painted anything of mine, you know I do this to my leaves. So just that little C-stroke at the base of the leaves, that little C-shaped float, it just gives the leaf a little bit of substance, implies that it's got a curve, but it doesn't make the leaves opaque, it doesn't make them heavy, but it does give them a nice sense of depth. And I like that little, and it just takes on that more of that fabric look. So that nice little C-shaped float at the base of the leaf where the stems join. Just like that.
I'm just waiting for a text message.
From?
A vet friend.
Oh, okay.
So I can answer that question properly.
Oh, fair enough.
Because I've never had to deal with a dog with a yeast infection.
Yep.
Especially a dermatitis yeast infection.
Yeah. Still poor puppy dog.
They usually happen in dogs who are very active in water.
Yeah. Well, that's not uncommon.
Yeah. I can give you the basics. Keep them dry. Brush them regularly. High protein diet. Yeah. Those kind of things will help with it. As for putting something on it, I don't know. Yeah. So I just texted a veterinary friend of mine back in Winnipeg, and hopefully she answers back. Yeah.
If not, we may be able to get an answer for you soon. So I kind of like that texture. Gives that metallic pattern in the background a little bit more visual weight instead of just line work back there. It kind of reminds me of chinoiserie in a way. I just thought it would make for a fun background, and I like the leaves. Just suits that sort of springy look I was going for. So a gold metallic, even if you wanted to completely change up the color palette, you could go with a copper, you could go with a silver. Rose gold would be gorgeous, I think. Almost any metallic bronze, I think, would really be pretty back there. And any one of those would be in keeping with the color palette that we already have. We have the cooler elements with the mermaid tail and the desert cactus, and then we have the warmer elements with the all of those corals and reds. So you could easily get away with almost any kind of metallic in there, whatever I think appeals to you. But we are almost finished, and so we are going to give Renee the 3-minute warning so he can start getting set up for the giveaways.
Well, I already have the wheel set up.
Oh, look at you. So, little float back there. We'll just finish off these little leaves. And then the only thing that we'll have left to do is to take credit for our hard work and sign it. Really liking that metallic gold. So I'm going to grab my gold paint pen. And I'm really glad that I went with the gold paint because I'm really quite pleased with that. I like how that looks. But I'm going to use my gold paint pen and I'm going to put my scribblature in the lower left corner. And I am calling our spring tulips done.
Cool. So she already sent me 2 suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to switch cameras first.
Yep.
So, for Dawn Lavelle and her Frenchie, she suggests a product called Yeast Guard, made by 4-Leaf Rover.
Okay.
And the other one is called NHV All Clear, which is a dog skin disease or antifungal topical cream. And the last but not least, change the diet.
Mm-hmm.
And if it persists, go see a vet.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Sounds like good advice.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed playing with this design idea. Trying to mimic a sort of a chinoiserie, but what inspired me was a piece of fabric. So I love the high contrast in this. I love the brighter colors. I like the teals and the turquoises. I love that combination as well. I think they play up really nicely together. Those really cool blue greens against that coral and those nice peachy tones. It's so warm and so yummy. And then throw in a little gold and then put it all on a black background for some big time drama. And I think you end up with a really fun piece. Now, you might have noticed there's a couple of new pieces sitting on the counter behind me. I don't know if you can see them, but our project for next Saturday is called Be My Honey.
That's very pink.
It is very pink, but it is for Valentine's Day.
It's not like you to do something that pink.
It is very pink. So we're doing Gerbera daisies on it, like pink on pink on pink on pink on pink. Lots of pink. So hearts and flowers, basically. And of course, there's going to be a bumblebee in there somewhere because, it's me. If you have the pattern for the project that we did today, you'll notice there's 2 line drawings. One has some lettering in it. So you can use that one if you like. And I did hide a little bumblebee in the line drawing somewhere. I didn't paint him in there, but he's hidden in there somewhere. So you'll have a bee to paint too. So I had fun with this and I hope that you guys enjoyed it too. But right now, Renee is going to set up the wheel so we can spin. We've got 3 giveaways today. It is a Create bag, which essentially is just a pencil case. Fun little pencil case. I filled it with a few of my favorite things. My black gel pen, a white gel pen, and one of my favorites, the mono eraser, is in there as well, plus some other goodies. But there's also a really great set of Dynasty IPC blenders. So there is a soft blender, an oval blender, and a point blender. You're going to love these. So we have 3 sets of those to give away today. Okay. Approximate value is about $35 a piece. So there's lots of goodies in it.
Got my sticky pad. Not that Sharpie. This Sharpie? Nope.
There's a dish full of pens there. If you can find one that works.
I got one that works.
Oh, goody.
First try. All right, first name.
Yep. How many names do we have on the wheel today?
228.
Nice. That's a lot of names.
That's a lot of names.
Yep.
And the first name is Laura Drum.
Laura Drum. Yay. I keep watching for the wheel to show the name. Of course, there's a lag time, so I don't see it until after you've said it. So, Laura Drum, if you have not visited my website, please do so. Click on the little speech bubble on the right-hand corner of the homepage, down in the lower right-hand corner, and send us your shipping information so that we can get your goodies out to you. I'm just looking to see who else. Deb. Hi, Deb. Deb Daniker. She's got one of those diamonds next to her name now. Super fan.
Super fan.
Super fan or ultra fan or whatever they call it. Yep.
Robin R.
Yes, and Valerie Clemens' birthday was yesterday.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Oh, congrats. Awesome. Happy birthday.
Yep.
Robin R. Is that?
It is.
It is? Nice.
Robin Richer. Yep. I keep wanting to say Robin Richer.
Robin Richer.
Do I sell the media paint carousel behind you? No, I don't. The carousel behind me is from Creative Arts Lifestyle. It's Patricia Rollinson's website. So creativeartslifestyle.com.
Robin Richer. Robin Richer.
I love that thing. I also love the wee little one right next to it that holds all my ink. And I found that one on Amazon. I think I paid $20 for it. It was great.
Shuffle, 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 and spin. Last one.
One more?
One more. Who do we got? Who's this? Who's that? Who's this? Who's this? Heidi Allison.
Heidi Allison. Oh my goodness. She's enjoying the weather up in her mountain home, along with all of the critters. Heidi, I know where you live. And I know where... I also know where Robin Richer lives. So, ladies, I have your shipping information, but Lori, I do not. I don't think.
Lori Drum.
Lori Drum.
Laura.
Laura. So, please visit the website. We do have a few unclaimed things. So, I'm waiting for... There's a few.
There's a few, yeah.
Yep. So there's a few unclaimed things. So we'll give it another week, and if I haven't heard from any of them, then they go back into the bin. All right, guys, that is it for us this week. Thanks so much for joining us, as you always do. We would greatly appreciate it. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit the big old red subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so that you get notification whenever we go live or when we post new video. If you're not a member of my paid membership group, please consider it. We have a blast every month creating all sorts of cool things, and they get some great prizes too. So, having said all of that, thanks so much for watching us every Saturday. We appreciate it, and it helps us even do more. So thank you, and please, it's winter. Please drive safe. Be careful out there. We love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog.
Pet your dog.